Seriously, don't even think about having a baby with a guy you've already broken up with. Or did you think a child would keep us connected forever? How naive. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Looking back, breaking up was the best decision I ever made. Staying with someone so delusional would have kept me from the happiness I have now. Today, I want to share my unforgettable dark past and how I overcame it. My name is Jessica, and I'm a 53-year-old housewife who enjoys doing household chores while watching the morning news. When I was 38, I lived peacefully with my husband Mike. However, around that time, a bit of unrest started to creep into our home. Mike began responding to me with intimidating indifference, saying things like, "So what?" or "and?" He'd cut me off with, "I'm busy right now," leaving me feeling dismissed and treated with disdain. It wasn't always like this. Mike used to be someone who loved to chat and would crack jokes to make me laugh whenever he had the chance. But then, something changed. It was such a sudden shift that I wondered if I had done something wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint anything specific. One day, I noticed a faint lipstick mark on the back of a shirt Mike had brought to the laundry. He had come home late from work that day, claiming he had to work overtime. Given that his office was male-dominated, it seemed unlikely that someone with lipstick had leaned against his back. If that were the case, it was too unsettling to consider. Could it be a woman? I wondered. Although I naturally jumped to that conclusion, a lipstick stain alone wasn't solid evidence. There could be countless explanations, like accidentally bumping into someone. I decided to wait a bit longer and observe Mike's behavior more closely. Ironically, paying just a little more attention revealed a slew of evidence of infidelity. For instance, Mike always got up around 2 a.m. to use the bathroom at night. I had never thought much of it before, but it turned out he was using that time to talk to a woman on the phone in the bathroom. I also started finding long strands of hair inside his suit jacket, and sometimes his handkerchief had traces of what appeared to be lipstick. The most damning piece of evidence was a tinted lip balm I found when I borrowed Mike's car for the first time in a while. It would be one thing if Mike used colored lip balm, but this was clearly not his. After 10 years of marriage, the frustration of seeing Mike being taken by someone else, combined with the loneliness and the resurgence of my affection for him, was overwhelming. Is there really no chance of starting over? Isn't there something I can do to make him notice me again? Isn't there a way to rekindle what has cooled off? Just as I was grappling with these thoughts, I discovered I was pregnant. I thought the timing of the pregnancy was a blessing from God. We didn't have children, and the monotony in our relationship might have contributed to Mike's affair. Maybe this pregnancy could be the chance for him to change. Holding on to that hope, I told Mike about the pregnancy, but then, what the heck? Give me a break. This is such a hassle. Let's just break up. I couldn't believe my ears. Looking back, I realized my judgment and expectations were too naive. The likelihood of a man who is cheating coming back is extremely rare. Life isn't like a TV drama where things just work out smoothly. But back then, I truly believed that since we married out of love, we could surely find our way back to each other. Is that really how you're going to respond? It's your child too. Even for the child, it's better if a dad like me isn't around. You've realized that too, haven't you? Seeing Mike's smirking face made my heart skip a beat. That I'm having an affair, pretending not to know about Mike's infidelity and hoping the pregnancy would magically fix everything felt like being pushed off a cliff. I had thought that revealing the affair would create tension and push Mike away for good, but that was another misjudgment. I wanted you to find out. I dropped so many hints, but you never said a word. I was at my wit's end. What I was waiting for you to say was, "This is unthinkable. Let's get a divorce." You really made me go through a lot of trouble. You're kidding, right? I wouldn't bother with such a hassle if it were a lie. I have a cute 24-year-old girlfriend now, a 38-year-old about to get fat from pregnancy. I have no use for you anymore. Here, take this as alimony or whatever. Just agree to the divorce, he said. I cried for 3 days and nights. Eventually, when Mike stopped coming home, I found the resolve to divorce. 5 years have passed since then. I was afraid of growing old and being single, but fortunately, I remarried my childhood friend Steve, also a divorcee. We lived modestly with our child Chloe. Steve had also been cheated on by his wife, making him a fellow survivor of a messy divorce. Sharing the same pain made life with him very comfortable. On our anniversary, Steve would book a fancy restaurant every year, and for my birthday, he would get me something slightly expensive. I felt cherished. I hoped these days would continue forever. As we celebrated another anniversary this year, it was supposed to be a delightful dinner at our usual upscale restaurant. Wow, Jessica, is that you? Mike gasped upon seeing my face. What? Why are you here? I couldn't hide my disgust. What a tragedy. I had accidentally run into Mike coming out of the restroom. What? I'm here for a business dinner. Unlike you, I'm busy, huh? Mike glanced over my shoulder and approached briskly. Wow, so you had the child, huh? The one you were pregnant with when we split? That's gross. He grabbed my child's hand, looked closely, and began to say outrageous things. Seriously, don't have the child of a guy you've broken up with. Oh, could it be that you couldn't forget about me, thinking that if you had a child, I'd never be able to cut ties with you? How naive is that? Hey, what do you say? Mike, grinning, seemed to be having a great time spitting the child around by the hand. The child's face twisted in distress, and he started crying out loud. Daddy, Mommy, help. Some stranger is taking me. There. I'm your daddy, and your mommy's right over there. You're just like her, a stupid child. Just as Mike blurted out those words, a man towering over 6 feet appeared from behind and forcefully grabbed Mike's arm. Excuse me, but that boy is mine. Mike's bewildered expression almost made me burst out laughing. Huh? Is this guy your new husband, Jessica? I didn't answer Mike's question. I'm not sure what you've been saying, but surely you don't think you can make someone's child cry and get away with it, do you? The tall man glared at Mike, a glimpse of a tattoo peeking out from his arm. Noticing it, Mike instantly turned pale. Wait, hey Jessica, tell your husband to stop. Excuse me, that woman is not my wife. Confused, Mike glanced back and forth between me, the man, and the screaming child. Whoa, what? Then who is this child? Before he knew it, the man had Mike's arms firmly bound. This man is a lunatic repeating nonsense. Someone call the staff. There's a man here harming a child. The man's outcry stirred the restaurant. What a day this turned out to be on such an important anniversary, I thought to myself with a smirk. It certainly became a memorable day, although unexpectedly. Waiter, over here. I saw this man forcibly grabbing a child's arm. I called out. My words left Mike gaping in shock. Wait, Jessica, what's going on? Seriously, I don't understand what's happening. As Mike frantically protested, I said, I am not that man's wife, and that child is neither mine nor yours. But he was right behind you. You were blocking the narrow passage to the restroom entrance, standing there like a post, preventing the boy from entering. He was simply following his father to the restroom, and you obstructed him. What? Really? Mike's face fell as he realized the gravity of his mistake. You might want to make people the butt of your jokes, but you should be careful about jumping to conclusions. Why don't you look around a bit more? Shut up. I don't need to be lectured by you. Indeed, my valuable words probably wouldn't reach someone like you. I'm not suspicious. Well, any man who approaches an unknown child, grabs their arm, and then uses baby talk like I'm your daddy is undoubtedly suspicious no matter how you look at it. But that was. And then you tell the woman in front of you, Mommy is right there, isn't she? Are you still under the impression that we're married? As I said this with a smirk, Mike turned red with anger and shouted, Don't mess with me. But the louder Mike's voice, the tighter the grip of the man holding him. Ow. Hey, man, back off. I'm innocent. Innocent. It's undeniable that you made my son cry, isn't it? But that was a misunderstanding. I quickly interjected. It's a fact that you misunderstood and grabbed someone else's son. Mike glared at me and said, You jerk. Yikes, getting glared at by a suspicious person. How scary, I responded sarcastically, feigning fear in my voice. This seemed to irritate Mike even more, and he began to struggle wildly against the man restraining him. Still thinking you and I are a couple, huh? Or could it be you haven't forgotten about me? I taunted, using the same accusation he had thrown at me earlier. Predictably, Mike got angrier, and sensing the danger, the tall man quickly pinned him to the floor. If you thought you could escape from me, you're sorely mistaken. While the man might have meant it lightly, the tattoo visible on his arm made the threat seem all too real. Mike must have thought, this might be the end for me today. Come on, Jessica, tell them it's a misunderstanding, Mike pleaded. But dragging someone else's child by the hand isn't just a misunderstanding, I retorted. I thought he was my child, Mike said, his voice breaking like a child's, which made me burst out laughing. You claim he is my child without even acknowledging or paying child support. Did we ever discuss acknowledgement or child support after our divorce? Well, no. But you knew I had no intention of acknowledging, which is why you never contacted me, right? Idiot. I wouldn't just let it go. If I had a child, I'd make sure you acknowledged and paid up one way or another. Then why? That time, the pregnancy test was wrong. I went to the gynecologist, and it turned out I wasn't pregnant, which solidified my decision to divorce. Yes, during those 3 days when the topic of divorce came up and Mike stopped coming home, it's true that I spent that time crying. But considering I might have had a child, I couldn't just divorce without clarification. So I first went to the gynecologist. I wanted to sort out alimony, child support, and future living expenses in my head, even if we were going to divorce. If avoiding the divorce would benefit the child, I was prepared to endure. However, at the gynecologist, there were no signs of pregnancy, but they did find a tumor on my ovary. During the surgery for that, I happened to share a room with Steve's mother. Steve and I were childhood friends, so I knew his parents well. Reuniting with Steve during his visits, we became close again. At one point, I thought of the pregnancy as a blessing from God to make things work with Mike, but in reality, it brought me to someone who made me realize that parting ways with Mike was the right decision. It also led to the early detection of my illness. Despite having one ovary removed, last year I gave birth to Chloe, my child with Steve. It may seem like I've been through a lot, but in truth, it's all been for the best. Upon learning everything, Mike turned pale and muttered, "No way, I got dumped by that woman." Needless to say, I couldn't help but laugh. It's no surprise a young woman wouldn't want to be with an aging man like him. At that moment, a police officer appeared. It seems someone from the restaurant had called them. Mike received a stern warning from the police. The misunderstanding was cleared up, and he apologized profusely to the child's family, preventing the situation from escalating. The scolding from the police seemed to have hit him hard. He even came to apologize to me. Since Mike doesn't know where I live now, he actually went to my parents' house to express his apologies to my mother. He admitted that the way we parted was the worst and that he was wrong. Aging, abandoned by his affair partner, and finding himself increasingly isolated, the recent incident seemed to have broken him, leaving him to feel the loneliness of having no one to comfort him. Well, it's too late for apologies now as far as I'm concerned. I continue to ignore Mike. Honestly, if we hadn't met there, I probably would have gradually forgotten about him altogether. Steve noticed I hadn't returned to our table for a while and came to the restroom to check on me. However, he decided to watch from the shadows, thinking this might be my first and last chance to get back at Mike. Of course, I was ready to jump in if anything happened, but that guy restraining Mike was just too strong. That guy apparently used to live in Mexico and was the captain of a football team there, I mentioned. No wonder he's strong. Guess I had no role to play there. I was seriously scared, thought he was from some dangerous profession or something, Steve said with a laugh, and I couldn't help but laugh along with him. Normally, one might say something like, "Not very manly of you," but Steve doesn't have to deal with Mike, and I believe it was a problem I needed to resolve myself. I acknowledged that I lacked strength during the divorce. In the end, I simply went along with the divorce as Mike wished and received a standard amount of alimony from Mike and his affair partner. Reality doesn't always progress like a fairy tale, so getting an exorbitant alimony was out of the question, and I had lost the strength to fight back. But I believe I finally became truly strong by standing up to Mike with unwavering resolve in the end. Now I can proudly face Steve and Chloe. Coincidentally, this year's anniversary became a new beginning for me. Now, with Steve becoming a freelance architect and his income doubling, I quit my part-time job and am enjoying life as a relaxed housewife. When I ask Chloe, who's somewhat in a rebellious phase, to do something, she complains. But when I stay silent, she quietly helps out. This trait of hers is something that only Steve and I secretly find irresistible. Though Chloe is our only child due to a late pregnancy, our family of 3 and our 2 dogs live a life that's lively, perhaps too much so. Despite never having children with Mike, I was able to conceive and give birth at an older age with Steve, even with just one ovary remaining. In a way, I consider this to be fate. As a child, I secretly dreamed of marrying that special someone destined just for me, and who would have thought that dream would come true with a second marriage? Sometimes I allow myself to indulge in such dreamy thoughts. With these reflections, I cherish the ordinary days that come my way, days that are anything but ordinary, filled with love and gratitude.